In a quiet little alleyway of a big, bustling city, there lived a young raccoon named Remy. Remy had bright eyes, clever paws, and a curious nose that loved to sniff out adventure. Every night he explored the city streets, looking for shiny things and tasty treats. But Remy was sometimes a little too quick to act without thinking. One evening, as the moon shone above the rooftops, Remy found something exciting. 2 big trash bins behind a bakery. "Ooh, I bet there are sweet crumbs and yummy leftovers in there," he said, licking his lips. He rushed right over and jumped on top of the first big bin without thinking. Crash! The lid slipped, and Remy tumbled down with a loud thud. The clatter echoed through the alley, and lights flickered on in the windows above. Remy's heart thumped fast. He didn't like being noisy or waking up the people who lived nearby. "Oh no," he whispered. "Maybe I should have been more careful." Just then, his friend, Millie the Mouse, poked her head out from under a box. "Remy, why don't you stop and think first?" she squeaked kindly. "If you slow down and make a good choice, things might go better." Remy scratched his head. "You're right, Millie. I was too quick." The next night, Remy found himself in front of a different bin. This time, he paused. He took a deep breath and thought, "What's the best way to do this?" He checked the lid carefully. It wasn't too heavy. He gently lifted it with his paws, slow and quiet, and peeked inside. Sure enough, there were delicious apple peels and crusty bits of bread waiting for him. Millie climbed up beside him. "See? You made a thoughtful choice, and it worked," she said with a smile. Later, as they shared their little feast, Remy felt proud. "I think I like being careful," he said. "When I stop and think, things turn out much better." From that night on, Remy always took a moment before he acted. He thought about what might happen and made sure his choices were good ones. And in the quiet city alley, Remy became known not just for being curious, but for being wise too. The end. One starry night in the busy city, Remy the Raccoon was feeling excited. He had heard about a beautiful park nearby where the grass was soft, the trees were tall, and the trash bins were filled with tasty picnic leftovers. "This is going to be great," Remy told his friend Millie the Mouse as they headed toward the park. "I can't wait to explore." When they arrived, Remy saw something shiny glinting under a bench. "Ooh, look at that," he said, hurrying toward it. But just as he was about to grab it, he stopped. "Wait," he thought. "What if this doesn't belong to me? What if someone dropped it and might come back for it?" Millie smiled. "Good thinking, Remy," she said. Remy looked around and saw a little sign on the bench. It said, "Lost and Found," with an arrow pointing towards a small box. Carefully, Remy picked up the shiny thing. It was a key, and placed it in the box. "That was a good choice," Millie said proudly. "Now, if someone comes back for their key, they'll know where to find it." Later, Remy and Millie found a trash bin by the playground. Remy's tummy rumbled. "Let's see what snacks we can find," he said. But as he started to lift the lid, he heard a soft chirp. They peeked inside and saw a little bird stuck among the wrappers. She was flapping her wings, but couldn't get out. Remy took a deep breath. He remembered how Millie had told him to stop and think before he acted. He slowly and carefully climbed into the bin, being gentle so he didn't scare the little bird. He scooped her up softly in his paws and lifted her out. The bird fluttered up into the sky, singing a happy song. "You thought before you acted," Millie said with a grin. "You made a choice to be gentle and kind." Remy smiled, feeling proud. "I like making good choices. It makes me feel good inside, and it helps others too." As they made their way home under the glowing city lights, Remy promised himself he would always take time to think things through. After all, good choices made for the best adventures. And in the quiet alley where he lived, Remy became known not just for being curious and clever, but for being careful and kind, too. The end. In the middle of a big, busy city, Remy the Raccoon lived in a cozy little alley with his best friend, Millie the Mouse. Every night, after the people went to sleep and the streets grew quiet, Remy and Millie would go out exploring. They always found new things: shiny buttons, bits of ribbon, and sometimes even tasty crumbs left behind from a picnic. But there was one thing Remy had learned recently. It's important to think before you act and make good choices. He had seen how slowing down and thinking things through helped keep him and Millie safe. One night, as they were walking near the edge of the park, Remy spotted something glowing by a bench. "Millie, look! A light!" Remy whispered excitedly. He raced toward it, his paws pattering quickly on the ground. But halfway there, he stopped himself. "Wait," he thought. "What if I scare someone or knock something over? I should slow down and be careful." Remy took a deep breath and walked slowly the rest of the way. Millie caught up and smiled. "I see you're thinking first," she said proudly. When they reached the glowing light, they saw it was a lantern. It had fallen from a picnic table and was flickering softly on the ground. Next to it was a little paper bag, still half full of snacks. "Ooh, snacks," Remy said. But before he reached out, Millie put a paw on his. "Whose do you think those are?" Millie asked. Remy thought for a moment. "Maybe someone left them behind by accident," he said. They looked around and saw a little family of ducks waddling nearby. The ducklings quacked as they searched for food under the picnic tables. Just then, a young boy came running back with his parents. "There's my lantern," the boy said, "and our snacks." Remy and Millie stepped back quietly as the family gathered their things. Remy felt glad he had thought before he acted. If he had grabbed the snacks or the lantern, he might have taken something that didn't belong to him. As they watched the family walk away, Millie said, "That was a good choice, Remy." Remy nodded. "I'm learning that thinking about what might happen before doing something makes things better for everyone." Later that night, on their way home, they found another surprise. A tiny kitten was stuck behind a recycling bin. It meowed softly, looking scared. Remy was about to rush over when he stopped again. "What if I scare the kitten? What's the best way to help?" He slowly approached, moving quietly. Millie followed and spoke in a gentle voice. Together, they carefully pushed the bin aside and helped the kitten out. The kitten purred and rubbed against Remy's leg. "That's another good choice," Millie whispered. Remy smiled as they walked home under the stars. He was proud of himself for thinking first and making thoughtful, kind choices. And from then on, Remy was known as the raccoon who was not only curious, but also clever, careful, and kind. The end.